In Abuja, Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory, the city shone with uplands, shining towers, radiating estates, and luxury cars lined the streets, symbolizing wealth and power. It was a city where politics, influence, and money intersected in ways few could imagine. And below the surface of its sophisticated exterior, there existed a shadowy underworld of power, plays, and hidden deals. Among the glittering elite of Abuja, the big girls stood out. These were women who had managed to rise to prominence not through traditional career paths but by becoming fixtures in the political and social circles of the most powerful men in the country. They were not merely beautiful, they were smart, strategic, and understood the rules of the game better than most. They knew how to navigate the intricate web of power, charm, and manipulation that ran through the corridors of government. Bimbo was one of them. Bimbo had grown up in a modest family in Ibadan, but she always had bigger dreams. She moved to Abuja when she was 24, leaving behind the expectations of her conservative upbringing. She wasn't content with a simple life. From the moment she arrived in the city, she saw the limitless potential for those willing to bend the rules. Bimbo knew the power that came with beauty, intelligence, and the ability to position oneself close to power. She quickly learned that in Abuja, those who had the politicians' ears controlled more than just wealth, they controlled the future. Her first real connection came at a high society event in Moritama, one of the most luxurious districts in the capital. Dressed in a designer gown she had borrowed from a friend, Bimbo made her way through the crowd, her eyes set on a man she had read about countless times in the news, Senator Danjuma. He was one of the most influential politicians in the country, known for his close ties to the presidents and his vast network of businesses. She had studied him, learnt about his taste, and understood what made him tick. When she finally caught his eyes across the room, she didn't hesitate. Her confidence, wit, and charm were undeniable, and by the end of the evening, she had secured a private dinner with the senator. That dinner would be the first of many, and soon, Bimbo found herself drawn into a world she had only dreamt of. Lavish vacations, expensive gifts, and bank accounts filled with money were just the beginning. Danjuma, like many other powerful men in Abuja, wasn't just looking for companionship. He needed someone who could help him navigate the treacherous water of politics and business. Bimbo quickly realized that the role she was playing went beyond simply being a side chick or an arm piece. She became an intermediary, brokering deals between politicians, business tycoons, and even international interests. She knew how to leverage her connections to secure multi-million-dollar contracts for the senator and his allies. In return, she received a generous cut from each deal, making her one of the most wealthiest women in the city. But Bimbo wasn't the only one thriving in this dangerous game. There were other women, big girls like her, who had carved out their own niche in Abuja's shadowy underworld. There was Fumi, known for her connections to oil and gas tycoons, and Lara, who had ties to a powerful governor in the north. They all operated with a level of finesse and secrecy, careful never to draw too much attention to themselves. Despite their flashy lifestyles, they knew how to walk the fine line between visibility and discretion. They drove the latest luxury cars, lived in mansions in Asokoro and Moritama, and frequented the most exclusive clubs and hotels in the city. Yet, very little about their dealings was ever discussed openly. The big girls moved silently, always aware of the fragile nature of their relationships with the men in power. If a politician's career fell apart, so too could their own fortunes. It was a risky game and everyone involved knew it. Bimbo's rise, however, didn't go unnoticed. Other politicians started to take an interest in her, recognizing the influence she had wielded over Senator Danjuma. Some offered her money to spy on him, while others tried to lure her into their own circles with promises of more wealth and power. Bimbo had to be careful. Betrayal in this world could lead to more than just financial ruin. It could end in violence or worse. As she navigated the increasingly dangerous waters of Abuja's elite political scene, Bimbo started to feel the weight of her choices. The life she had once craved was starting to take its toll. There were whispers of investigations into corrupt deals, and the Economic and Financial Crime Commission (EFCC) had begun looking into the activities of several high-ranking politicians, including Senator Danjuma. Bimbo knew that if Danjuma went down, she might be dragged down with him, and the other big girls, those she once considered her alliances, would not hesitate to distance themselves from her if it meant protecting their own interests. The pressure was mounting, but Bimbo wasn't ready to give up her power just yet. She began to play an even more dangerous game, striking deals behind Danjuma's back, forming alliances with his rivals, and quietly moving her money offshore in case she needed to disappear quickly. She knew that in Abuja, loyalty was often just another commodity to be traded. One evening, while sipping champagne at a high-end lounge in Wuse, she received a message from an unknown number. The message was simple, but it sent a chill down her spine. They know. Bimbo's heart raced. She had heard stories of other women who had been caught in the crossfire of political scandals. Some had been arrested, while others had mysteriously disappeared. She wasn't sure who they were, but she knew she wasn't taking any chances. For the first time in years, Bimbo felt fear. The shimmering illusion of her life, the luxury, the power, the influence was starting to crack. She had played the game for so long, but now it seems the game was playing her. She had to make a decision: stay and fight, risking everything, or vanish before the storm hit. That night, as the city lights of Abuja glittered outside her window, Bimbo began to make plans for her escape. She had enough money to start over somewhere far away where no one knew her name or her past, but she always knew that leaving would mean giving up everything she had worked for. As the days passed, Bimbo watched from shadows as the political landscape shifted. The EFCC arrested several key figures, including Senator Danjuma. His assets were frozen, and his alliances distanced themselves from him as quickly as they could. The scandal rocked Abuja, and the fallout was swift and brutal. Bimbo disappeared from the scene just as she had planned. Rumors swift about where she had gone. Some said she fled to Dubai, others claimed she was living quietly in Ghana, but no one knew for sure. The big girls of Abuja, like Bimbo, knew the rules of the game, and in a city built on power, money, and secrets, survival often meant knowing when to vanish. Months passed after Bimbo's disappearance, and the dust surrounding the Senator Danjuma's downfall had begun to settle. Abuja was as relentless as ever, with new players entering the political game and old ones maneuvering to maintain their grip on power. The news of Danjuma's arrest has dominated the headlines for a while, but like all scandals in the capital, it was soon overshadowed by the next crisis. Life went on. However, within the elite circles of Abuja, political and business class, whispers of Bimbo's vanishing act still lingered. She had managed to evade the chaos that entrapped so many of her peers, but not everyone had forgotten her. Fumi and Lara, two of the most dangerous big girls in Abuja, were still very much in the game, and with Danjuma out of the picture, the power vacuum left behind had created new opportunities and new enemies. One evening, Fumi and Lara met at a luxurious rooftop bar in Wuse 2, overlooking the sparkling city lights. The air was warm, the sounds of distant car horns mixing with the soft hum of conversation around them. Both women had risen to prominence through their own carefully crafted connections with politicians, but they were smart enough to know that power was fleeting. "Have you heard anything about Bimbo?" Fumi asked, her manicured fingers tapping lightly on the stem of her wine glass. Lara shook her head, her eyes scanning the room for familiar faces. "Nothing concrete, just rumors. Some say she's lying low in Accra, others think she's in Dubai. She's smart though. I thought we would see her back here anytime soon." Fumi smirked. Smart. Yes, but she left behind a lot of unfinished business. She wasn't the only one involved in those deals with Danjuma. We both know that if someone digs deep enough, our names could come up too. Lara's expression darkened. She had always been cautious, never fully trusting anyone, not even the other big girls. In their world, alliances were as fragile as glass, and betrayal was an unspoken rule of the game. "I've covered my tracks," Lara said confidently, "but we need to stay ahead of things. If anyone's going to take advantage of Danjuma's downfall, it should be us." The two women clicked glasses, their unspoken agreement sealed. They knew that Abuja was full of opportunity for those who could navigate its treacherous waters, but as they plotted their next moves, neither of them could shake the feeling that Bimbo's disappearance wasn't as simple as it seemed. Meanwhile, far from the bright lights and politics of Abuja, Bimbo was living quietly in Accra, Ghana. She had used her connections and resources to disappear without a trace, carefully liquidating her assets and moving them to offshore accounts. The decision to leave Abuja had been difficult but necessary. She knew that staying any longer would have meant risking her freedom or worse. In Accra, Bimbo had invented herself. Gone were the designer's clothes, the flashy cars, and the endless parade of high society events. She now lived in a modest but elegant home in a quiet neighborhood, far from the praying eyes of her former life. To her neighbors, she was just another expatriate enjoying the slower pace of life in the Ghanaian capital. But despite her new identity, Bimbo couldn't shake the feeling that she was still being watched. There were moments when she would watch a glimpse of a familiar face in the crowd, or when her phone would ring, only for the caller to hang up before she could answer. She had taken every precaution, but paranoia tormented her, a constant reminder of the life she had left behind. One evening, as she sat on her balcony overlooking the calm streets of Accra, Bimbo received a call from an unknown number. Her heart raced as she hesitated, debating whether or not to answer. Finally, she picked up. "Hello." The voice on the other end was calm, almost too calm. "Bimbo," the voice said, "we know where you are." She froze. The voice was unfamiliar, but the message was clear. Despite all her efforts, someone had found her. Before she could respond, the line went dead. Bimbo sat in stunned silence, the weight of the situation crashing down on her. She had been so careful, so meticulously in covering her tracks. Who could have found her? And more importantly, what did they want? The following days were filled with tensions as Bimbo tried to piece together who might have uncovered her location. She reached out to the few contacts she still trusted, quietly gathering information. It wasn't long before she discovered the truth. Fumi and Lara had been asking questions about her, trying to uncover any remaining loose ends from their time with Danjuma. Realizing that her former alliances were now potential enemies, Bimbo knew she had to act fast. She couldn't return to Abuja, nor with the EFCC still monitoring the fallout from Danjuma's arrest. But she also couldn't stay in Accra, not if Fumi and Lara were getting closer. With no other choice, Bimbo began planning her next move. She had one final trump card to play, information she had gathered during her time with Danjuma. If Fumi and Lara were intent on tracking her down, she would make sure they pay a heavy price for it.